Dawn crept onto Elena's apartment like a hesitant guest, filtering through threadbare curtains and slivers of rose and gold that danced across the hardwood floor scarred by years of joyful scoffs. Alex stirred on the couch, the Afghan tangled around his legs like a lover's reluctant goodbye, his neck stiff from the makeshift pillow of folded towels but his spirit buoyant in a way it hadn't been since boyhood Christmases with snowdrifts and hot cocoa. The aroma of brewing coffee strong, unfiltered, the kind that could wake the dead wafted from the kitchenette, mingling with the sizzle of eggs in a cast-iron skillet that had seen better decades. He blinked awake to the sight of Elena at the stove, her back to him, hair tousled from sleep, wearing an oversized flannel shirt that swallowed her frame and pajama pants dotted with cartoon tacos, a remnant, he guessed, from Tommy's phase of culinary obsessions. She moved with the unhurried rhythm of mornings claimed from chaos, humming that same Sinatra snippet from last night, her voice roughened by smoke from the diner shifts but rich with an undercurrent of unyielding hope. Last night's rain had washed the city clean, leaving behind a crisp autumn bite that promised change, and as Alex sat up, rubbing sleep from his eyes, he replayed the hours in fragments, the escape from La Belle's gilded cage, the burgers on the floor, the stories swapped like currency in a market of the heart. Her hand in his, warm and weathered, had lingered in his dreams, a talisman against the solitude that usually greeted him at sunrise. "Morning, hero," she called without turning, as if sensing his wakefulness through the ether of shared space. "Coffee's black as my ex-boss's soul, but it packs a punch. Eggs are almost Donia, don't let 'em get cold, or they'll judge you worse than that date." He chuckled, the sound foreign yet fitting in this borrowed home, and patted over in socked feet, the floor cool against his soles. "Smells like salvation." "You always cook for stray daters, or am I special?" She plated the eggs with a flourish, golden yolks wobbling like secrets on toast soldiers, and slid one across the counter. "Only the ones who don't snore like freight trains." "And you're special because you stayed." "Most run for the hills after the rescue op." Her eyes met his over the steam, hazel depths flecked with gold that caught the light, and in that gaze, he saw the layers, the armor of single motherhood, the scars of loss etched faint but indelible, the spark of mischief that had propelled her into his nightmare-turned fairy tale. Breakfast unfolded in companionable quiet at first, forks scraping plates in harmony with the distant rumble of the subway below, the city stirring to its relentless cadence. Alex savored the simplicity of the eggs perfectly scrambled with a whisper of cheese, the coffee bitter enough to bite back at, and found himself opening up further, words spilling like overflow from a cup too full. He told her about his father, Robert Harlan, a mechanic whose hands were maps of grease and grit, who taught him to fix engines and broken dreams with equal parts patience and profanity, gone now from a heart attack that struck mid-laugh at a family barbecue. One minute he's flipping burgers, joking about my terrible grilling skills, and the next, silence. "Mom hasn't cooked since. Says the kitchen feels like a crime scene." Elena listened, chin propped on her hand, her expression a canvas of empathy unmarred by pity, the kind that invites rather than invades. "Lost like that, it hollows you out, leaves echoes where laughter used to be." "My J. Vera Tammy's daughter." He went quick too, crushed under a beam at the mill. "One day he's promising me the stars, the next time staring at a widow's pension that barely covers stars on clearance." She paused, tracing the rim of her mug with a fingertip, the gesture intimate, revealing. "But we keep going, don't we, for the boys who need us whole, even when we're cracked." Alex nodded, throat tight with the universality of grief's grip, how it bound strangers into silent solidarity. Their talk meandered then, from parental phantoms to the absurdities of adulthood, her battle with the leaky faucet that mocked her every twist of the wrench, his war with a printer that ate tilde copyright submate tilde copyright s like candy. Laughter punctuated the ache, lightening it like yeast in dough, and as they washed dishes side by side at her sides, his rinsey he brushed her arm accidentally, the contact electric, lingering a beat too long. She didn't recoil. Instead, a flush crept up her neck, mirroring his own, and in that sudsy bubble of domesticity, possibility shimmered like sunlight on wet pavement. The morning unfolded into a lazy exploration of her world, a guided tour through the veins of Evergreen's working-class pulse. Elena insisted on showing him her kingdom at the corner bodega where Mr. Potel slipped her extra plantains when Tommy's school lunch needed padding, the laundromat with its ancient dryers that hum lullabies to folded dreams, the pocket parks squeezed between chain-link fences where wildflowers defied concrete with defiant blooms. They walked arm in arm against the chill, her coat draped over his shoulders when a gust nipped too sharp, his stories of boardroom blunders eliciting her guffaws that turned heads from stoop-sitters nursing thermoses of tea. You, in a suit, arguing spreadsheets. I see you more as the type to build treehouses, not empires, she teased, linking her pinky with his in a playful hook that sent warmth spiraling through him. He countered with questions about her sewing, how her fingers coaxed beauty from bolts of forgotten fabric, mending prom dresses for girls whose dreams outpaced their dresses. It's not glamour, she admitted as they paused by a mural of faded superheroes on a brick wall, but it's mine. Each stitch a spell against falling apart. Alex watched her, mesmerized by the way her hands gestured, calloused yet graceful, weaving invisible threads that pulled him closer. By noon, hunger drew them to the diner across from her building a greasy spoon called Dawn's Break, where the vinyl booths cracked like old leather and the jukebox spun Patsy Cline-like prayers. Over pouty melts and fries that crunched golden, she confessed the raw edges, the nights when bills piled like accusations, the guilt that gnawed when Tommy asked for new cleats she couldn't conjure, the hollow ache of holidays without Javier's booming voice carving the turkey. Poverty's a thief. Alexa steals your sleep, your spark. But Tommy, he's my North Star, keeps me navigating. Her voice cracked on his name, and he reached across the formica, thumb brushing her knuckles, a silent vow in the touch. You're more than surviving, Elena. You're a Forcia walking into strangers' messes to pull them out. That's not just strength, that's grace. She squeezed his hand, eyes glistening but steady, and in that diner booth, amid the clatter of plates and the sizzle of hash browns, he leaned in, heart hammering a tattoo of terror and triumph, and kissed her soft at first, tentative as a question, then deepening as she answered with the fervor that tasted of salt and sweetness, fries forgotten in the fire of rediscovery. Afternoon blurred into a tapestry of tandem steps, a detour to the library where Tommy devoured comics like sustenance, Elena checking out a dog-eared romance that made her blush under his raised brow while wander through the farmer's market, haggling over apples that blushed red as her cheeks when he fed her a slice, juice trailing like a promise down her chin. The city, usually a gauntlet of anonymity, softened around theme of vendors winking conspiratorially, pigeons scattering like confetti at their laughter. Yet beneath the idle, shadows stirred. Alex's phone buzzed incessantly with work alerts, Mia's texts probing the date's corpse. So, spill, a reminder of the chasm between his polished life and Elena's patchwork one. As they sat on a bench in the park, sharing a thermos of her thermos brew tea that scalded sweetly, doubt crept in like dusk. "These USA, it's a fairy tale footnote, isn't it?" he murmured, watching leaves pirouette to the ground and amber surrender. "Me and my high-rise, you hair with roots deeper than skyscrapers." Elena turned to him, her profile etched against the fading light, wise lines framing eyes that saw through facades. "Fairy tales are for kids who don't know real magic's in the mess. But if you're scared, say it. I won't chain you." He wasn't scared of her, he was terrified of losing these the raw, radiant now that made his scripted days feel like echoes. "Not scared," he whispered, pulling her close, her head tucking under his chin as if carved to fit. "Just new." Like learning to breathe underwater. They lingered until twilight painted the sky in bruises of purple and plum, her stories of Javier's ghost a gentle, guiding intertwining with his of Robert's legacy, a duet of departed loves that freed rather than fettered. Nightfall found them back at her stoop, Tommy due home tomorrow, the air thick with the scent of impending rain and unspoken futures. "Stay?" she asked, simple as a prayer, and he did. The couch now a throne of chosen exile. The second dawn broke brighter, Tommy's arrival a whirlwind of backpack thuds and hugs that bowled Alex over like a benevolent tsunami. The boy 11 going on eternal optimist eyed him with the suspicion of a sentinel but warmed quick under Elena's easy orchestration. Alex here's the guy who fixed the wobbly shelf last night. Hero status, right? Over pancakes flipped with theatrical flair, Tommy grilled him on superpowers. Can you fly? Or just talk to squirrels? His gap-toothed grin a mirror of his mother's, melding Alex's reservations into resolve. Days bled into a week of stolen seams, Alex calling in personal days he hadn't known he hoarded, Elena weaving him into her war-pissacker practices where he cheered horse, seamstress shifts where he fetched threads like a squire, evenings of board games where Tommy's victory dances rivaled rock stars. Romance bloomed in quiet crevices. A stolen kiss in the stairwell, her laughter muffled against his collar, midnight confessions over cooling tea, vulnerabilities bared like offerings, but cracks spiderwebbed, his boss's emails sharpening to scalpels, Mia's intervention. Who was she? Alex? Mom's worried, the specter of his world pulling like undertow. Culmination came on a Friday, rain lashing windows like judgment, as Elena mended his Tia the polka dot Defender with stitches precise as promises. You don't have to choose, she said, needle pausing midair, but if you go, take this, proof you're enough, knots and all. Tears pricked his eyes, the tie a talisman of transformation, and he pulled her into an embrace fierce as vows unspoken. I'm not going anywhere. These us, Tommy. The mess it's home. Outside, thunder rolled applause, and in her arms, with the boy asleep down the hall dreaming of capes, Alex knew the real escape wasn't from a bad date, but into a life richly ragged, where a poor single mom's heroism had mended not just fabric, but the frayed edges of his soul. Their story, unfinished but unbreakable, stretched ahead like an unrolled bolt of cloth endliness, enduring, embroidered with the gold of grace.